Welcome everybody to another edition of Truth Seekers. We have a Coach's Corner plan today. We'll be getting into the mailbag. Of course, you can hit us up at mailbag@proadvisorcoach.com and submit us a video any way you can. Dropbox, LinkedIn, Google Drive, iCloud, YouTube link. We take them all and we'll read them here, we'll present them, and then we'll answer it. So Coach, hopefully you're having a fantastic afternoon. I would like to know today, are you operating from a place of abundance or scarcity?
I am operating from a place of abundance. I guess just the way you answer that question could be like, I was like, oh, how do I answer that question that says yes, but also says yes in the way I'm answering it? It's like, I think I'm operating. That is not in a place of abundance, right? I'm operating in. I am in. It is the abundance.
How do you know?
Absolutely. Because I see possibilities and opportunities all the time. That's how I know. I had it at least twice today with clients of things that they're doing, which shows the realm of abundance, just opportunity falls on opportunity. I did this one great thing, and because of it, this one great thing came out of it. And then I followed the next great thing, and the next great thing came. It's just a flow of growth, just expansion. That's how I know.
The flow of growth, expansion. So what would it look like if we start to dip our toe into scarcity? Like what are some warning signals? How do we know?
I almost don't want to talk about it because that is dipping your toe in it.
That's the lesson right there, right?
Where you change your focus, right? Like you playing around, like playing games with like the edge of that rabbit hole. So I don't want to, like, I want to make sure I've got a big fence up around that rabbit hole. And I want to make sure I'm standing 100 feet away from the edge at all times. And I want to know it's there. So it reminds me, but I want to make sure that I'm in my abundance portion of that little world I just made.
So if you don't want to dip your toe, I'm going to throw a ladder into the pool and let me jump in. So I know I can get out of this, but I want to lay this out because I think this is so helpful for people to hear, something that I work on a daily basis. I would say the scarcity is allowing our external forces to take over.
Sure.
And what that looks like is anything out of our control that causes frustration or anger, being cut off by somebody on the road can send us into this downward spiral of scarcity. And I think it's important to realize it's the old control what you can control. It's such a cliche, but as we know, cliches are based in truth. As soon as you get out of that mode of opportunity, of expansion, then you're going in the opposite direction. And as soon as you feel overcome with anger, like what's the opportunity? All right, so let me ask you this, Coach. If you get cut off by somebody in the road, what's the opportunity? How do you stay focused on abundance?
Yeah, it's straight back to that control part for me. It's like it's doing the upfront work to protect yourself when those things happen. Because there's two ways to think about it. It's like in the moment, what do you do? And there's the work behind. So when you are in the moment, you give yourself as much space between stimulus and response as you can. And when you get the space, you are able to step into your abundance mentality so much easier. It's easy. People that like react instantaneously don't give themselves space. Like it's the daily practice of focusing on what you have, what you're grateful for, allows you that little space in the moment. You can tell, right? Like tell how much work you've done in the recent times by how quickly you may react to something, or you may react at all. And so you can define that for yourself. It's like stimulus happens, give yourself a few beats before you do anything. As soon as you take a path down the road of reaction, it just you're into that swimming pool without the ladder.
It's almost like you're giving away your happiness, the control of your happiness to somebody else or something else.
Yeah, exactly. You just like you're going back to your attention is going to, I need to fight, flight, or freeze here because there's something that's happened that's causing me fear that I'm going to lose something or not get something I don't want, that I do want, excuse me. and it just gives you the opportunity to go down that road quicker if you would like to.
Mhm. I'm going to treat it like this from now on. This is something I just thought of. Every time something negative happens to me, it's like that thing is presenting a contract to me and says, sign here to sign away your happiness. And all I'm going to do, I'm going to rip up every one of those contracts. Every time it's presented to me, I think it's a perpetual game. It keeps happening. I keep being presented with these contracts. I'm just going to refuse. I'm not going to sign on the dotted line. Why would I give my happiness away to this random stranger that cuts me off in the car, in his car?
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. And like another way to protect yourself is to know that you can decide up front what type of experience you want to have. As you said, every time something negative happens, well, what if it's not negative? What if there are no negative things? Because if life happens for us, then that was supposed to happen anyway. Just like, I didn't expect that to happen, but it must be for a reason. It must be for me. What do I want to use it for? What's great about this? How do I want to take this forward?
Life happens for us. I think that's easy when it's going well, right? But maybe a little bit more difficult to remain in that place when it's going poorly. This is a good section or a good segue into our first question from the mailbag here.
Hi, gentlemen. This is Dan Greco in Buffalo, New York. Thank you for taking some questions. Mine is that I've heard you talk about adversity in the long run or the long range, but I'm curious on those days, those individual days when you're feeling down or you just don't have that positive energy that you normally do. Maybe there's not a specific reason for it. It just kind of happens. Nobody's up all the time. How do you work through that? How do you process that? How do you think about that? And if you could answer that in each other's accents, that would be perfect.
All the comedy. All the comedy. I don't think there is no reason. I just think you're not looking for the reason. Or because it's not obvious, you're saying there is no reason. There's always something there's always cause and effect. So there's always a reason. Expand the parameters which you're looking at from.
Yeah, and it might not come to you, but that's also, I don't think, as important. But yeah, this is interesting because this is already operating from that place of scarcity. Now, maybe the cue or the trigger has been lost and we didn't catch ourselves when we went from abundance to scarcity. Maybe it was when we woke up, but to your point, it's probably something that happened in the past, or usually it's just a lagging indicator of something else that we've either done or haven't done that we need to have done. So how do we get out of that? That's the question. We talked about resilience before, and yes, we can do things to prevent it from happening or prevent how deeply we get into it. But once we're in it, what would you recommend? And sorry, that was not in the British accent, but I'm still working on that. I'll get back to Dan on that.
That's the scary point, right? We spend a lot of our time making sure that we aren't in it, because when you are in it, it's difficult to know that you're in it, and oftentimes, and even if you can see that you're in it, you don't care that you're in it because you're in it. Think about when it comes to drinking. Like, I'm only gonna have one drink. I'm only gonna have two drinks. And then before you know it, you've got 4 drinks, and then you don't care because you're like, I might as well have 10 drinks. You just can't see it when you're in it, right? You've got the fog. You can't see it. That's why it's so important in the first point to stay out of it. But the point is, like, when you are in it, what do you do, right? Like, when you are in it, what do? You want to make sure that you think about getting back to the baseline of what's most important. Ask yourself where you really are. Like, focus on what's really true for you, because you will get an answer from yourself. Obviously, surrounding yourself with the right environment, the right people, is going to allow you to bring yourself up to that point first. That's why coaching is so powerful, right? Because I remember when I first started coaching, I had all this new awareness and all these new cool concepts to think about. And I'm like, wow, like, anything's possible. Going from this point, like, what if I forget this stuff? What if I go back to my old way of thinking? That scared me a lot. And that's why it's so important to create that environment when you're in a good place to protect you from when you're not. But when you are, and it will happen, it's just taking a step back and like just being curious about it. Like, why do I not feel great today? What must have happened? Because there must be something. What do I want to explore? Okay. And regardless, okay, if I found it yet? Okay, no, I'm still gonna get curious about it. But what do I want to go towards? Where do I need to readjust my focus to start to create again rather than remove, get smaller? What am I going back to creating? How can I move forward? What's one tiny little thing I can do right now? That is the closest thing to me that just takes me a little bit closer to something I want. That's the game.
I agree. And I would add on top of that, do something physical. Like those are quite often the days that we miss our workout or we get out of the routine that we set up for ourselves. Like that's where the snowball or the spiral effect comes into play, is that sure, we feel like crap, but to get out of it, we have to just do what we know makes us good. And it's nothing more than that. So to your point, what's the smallest version of that? You need those little wins, because those little wins seem so far away when you're in that mode. And then to do it one on top of that, how about a little reframing? Something that has helped me immensely is that when I'm in those phases, it's right before a breakthrough. That's the last thing that happens to me before something really, really good happens. And all of a sudden you've disarmed that crappy feeling that you don't have control over, but you do have control over it because you just reframed it.
It's true though, right? And even if you know that, it still works. Right? It's like, don't be afraid of knowing too much. It still works. You know, there's different parts of our mind, and the intentional part can help the unintentional part, or the subconscious part. We can help ourselves do that. Just what do you want here? Make a step towards that. I love that what you said about the physical part of it. It's because it's so easy to see this in business a lot, in people with careers, focusing on delivering something. Perhaps it's challenging, perhaps it's been a long week, a long day, long month, and you're forcing yourself to do it. It's taking forever to do, and you're procrastinating, you're trying to do it, and you're just pushing yourself. The worst thing you can do in that situation is push yourself more. There's diminishing returns. It's get out of there, get out and go for a walk. And you might say, I haven't got enough time already to do what I've got. I'm on a deadline here. I've got 4 more hours to do this. I can't go and afford to take a 5-minute walk, 10-minute walk, 15-minute walk. I haven't got enough time. The reality is, you take 15-minute walk, you're going to like boost your power back up to 100%. You come back in, and that 4 hours minus 15 minutes, 3 hours, 45 minutes, you don't need anyway. You only need an hour because you're back to full force. Think of it like this. I think it's true to say, I don't know the exact numbers, but after a certain speed, it takes much more power to go. I think after 170, if you're trying to get to a car to do 200 miles an hour, after 170 miles an hour, it takes 30% more power to go 10% quicker, because there's so much more resistance at that point. And so get yourself out of there, come back and reset. It's investment time for a walk or a workout. And again, macro and micro, do it when you're in the moment, pull yourself out, to Dan's question. And then the macro is do it every day in the morning to prime yourself for success anyway.
That's well put. Yeah, what I'm taking away from what you said, just let it be okay. Like, I think a lot of the damage that we do is the resistance to it. I shouldn't feel like this. I wish I felt better. I wish there was a different state I was in. Just meet yourself where you are, and then figure out how to get out of it. You got to wiggle out of it. And I feel like we've given some good tips here.
It's a cool pattern breaking opportunity, right? Because of that, we didn't talk about that yet. It's like when you're in a place you don't want to be, not a resourceful place, you got to break your pattern first things first. I love that. I hear people say, well, oh, gosh, I wish this was done already. I wish it was at the end of the week. I wish this part was just over the line. I'm like, man, if you're wishing for that stuff, you got to be going way higher than that. You got to be wishing for way more things than that. You got to be wishing. You feel like if you're rubbing the lamp, trying to get the genie out, like you want to be asking for as many wishes as you possibly can. Now, what's the wish that allows me to get compound interest in my wishes? Like you got to be doing better with your wishes if you're going to wish. You want to talk about wishing, or you want to talk about making your life better?
Mm. Yeah, and so final nail in the coffin for this one. I feel like something you just said triggered like the tense that we use. Like if it's in the future, I wish, I need, I have to have. Like any restrictions on happiness or anything that we need or require to be happy, it's not happiness. So make it in the form of I am. That's how you started the conversation off. Well, I want to be, or I try. No, we are this. Well, what are you when you're in that state? Just be super honest with it, and also turn where you want to be into the present and embody that right now. That's how you get out of it.
Boom. There you go.
Boom. And our next question in our mailbag kind of has something very similar to this topic in general. So this might be a good segue to Carissa's question.
Hi, Josh. I have a question for you. So, I'm in sales and I consider myself to be a pretty organized person. I always have SOPs and everything ready to go. But the challenge that I'm having is I'm working 16, 12-hour days and I'm spending all of my time putting out fires. Now, right now is my busy season, so kind of normal. But at the same point, I'm not spending time on sales. So I'm not spending time bringing in the right folks and carving out time to locate those folks. And I wanted to get your advice and some tips on what I can do to get myself more out of the fires and spend more time creatively and strategically putting together a plan to build my business rather than spending all the time putting out the fires. So any help that you can suggest, any plans of attack, anything like that would be greatly appreciated, because I do not like being in quadrant 4 and putting out fires all the time. So thank you so much.
Did she say 16, 12-hour days?
I believe that's what she said. I saw your reaction, Coach. How do you feel about that?
How does she have time to record that? Kudos to her. She looked pretty good in 12-hour days.
Yeah, and I've spoken to her since asking that question. So she's a mortgage loan officer. So when she says customers or clients, I believe she's referring to other real estate agents that she has relationships with.
We refinanced our house yesterday, and we had someone over here at 8 o'clock last night sign the documents. And I'm sure those guys right now, anyone in that industry, is kind of pleased, but kind of busy as well. The biggest thing that strikes me about Carissa's question there is, if she's already that full, how can she possibly get time to focus on a strategy to get back and build her business? And number one, so there's no space. Number two, why does she even care about building her business when she's so busy? She's already, like, that's only going to make her more busy. So her intent, I believe, is correct, meaning like she only wants better things for herself. She wants to more abundance. She wants to create more leverage without putting in more time. But I think it's the question that we're asking perhaps isn't the right level of the question that we need to be asking. And that's not anything to do with her. It's just that she hasn't got the space. This dawned on me a few weeks ago, actually. It's like, stop. This is the way I think about it, is that stop looking for the answer, right? In her case, she's looking for the new strategy, the way of doing things so she can go back to focusing on more clients and doing sales. She's looking for an answer for that. Stop. You can't get it because she's going round and round. She's already too busy. So stop looking for an answer and look for the space. It's the space that she needs, because we can't, without the space, we can't find the creativity to let alone find the answer. She hasn't even found the question yet. So the focus for her, I would suggest, is just to be super clear about what she's got and stop trying to put more in to find what she's got to create herself some space. And once she's got the space, sit in the damn space and she'll get her answer.
So when you say sit in the space, is that time blocking? Is that just like this half hour, I'm not putting out any fires, it's just going to be with myself and strategize and figure out what I need? Is that kind of what you're saying?
Yeah, I am. That's what I'm saying, except that I wouldn't even talk about the precision of that part yet, because that's going to be too much for her as well. It's like, well, I could get half an hour if I really, really needed to, but like, what would that do? I've got to work an extra 30 minutes in the day. then there needs to be a more significant space. I used to find this when back in my corporate days, I'd be so in that place of just cranking it out all the time, same sort of thing, like 10-hour days, easy. That was standard. That was just a normal day, 50-hour weeks, and oftentimes a lot more than that. And I'd take a holiday, take a vacation. Sometimes you had to take 2 weeks off because as with the rules, like, so you take 2 weeks off. It only would be to the sort of beginning of the second week that I'd actually be on vacation. Like I wouldn't be physically at work for the first week, but it wouldn't be till the second week where I'd actually go, oh, let's think about something else. Because you're so far stuck into the way you are that you need to unwind yourself to create the space again. So I would suggest that, like, if she really is that busy, that asking her to create half an hour, even an hour, is not going to be enough. She's just going to be frustrated and go back to that spot, like in the totality of it, right? Like we talked earlier about taking the break to come back to recharge and do that. And that's like the micro of that particular task or that particular time. But if she's overall going for that amount of time for 16 days, I don't know anything else about her, but I would suggest that it's trying to create a space first. So what do you have? What's really most important? Where are you wasting your time? So, and then create the space based on that.
Okay, and I just want to pry a little bit deeper. So when you say create this, like my mind keeps going to time block or finding a place for where I can think. But I kind of gather that's not what you're. Can you go a little bit deeper on that?
So she might want to use time blocker thought process to take the time on a calendar to prioritize what she has got to do, what are there that she gets to do in her business.
Gotcha. So not space to strategize, but space to take care of these things. Like because she doesn't have that space, it feels like she should be doing something else.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Okay.
Don't try and find something else. Just take care of what you've got. So if she's doing 12-hour days, I'm sure there's a good reason for that. But I'm also expect that there's things that have kind of piled on top of each other that she can take some time to really prioritize what she's got. When she's more in control, feels more in control of what she's doing, then she can then create some real time to think about, how do I want to do this differently? I don't want to be in this position back in, because she said this is my busy time, so to be expected. So normal. Is that the normal she wants?
Yeah, I think there's another layer here because I bought a condo myself last year and know like the service level that people in her position provide is instantaneous service. That's how they separate themselves to be excellent in what they do. So it's just difficult to, plan for those things because things just come up. It's like, oh, we got to take advantage of this, or oh, this, just got a call from this person. We got to take care of this. So I could see why that would be difficult to get your arms around. But to your point, I think it is like, what's most important? Start with that first, and then because that's the transition from scarcity to abundance, right? Scarcity right now is like I'm stretched too thin. I'm working 12-hour days. The abundance is getting back to what's most important, prioritizing that, and then just letting it be okay if that next phone call is not responded to immediately, or the text message, or it's difficult to be in it. But are you gonna, maybe this is an unfair question. Are you gonna lose the customer over that? Maybe not. Hopefully not. But I think it has to start from a place of abundance.
It's okay. It's the intention and awareness of knowing where you are, because you said this is how people in that industry separate themselves, by being first to answer. But perhaps if you think about the other way around, that I bet that the people that in that industry are the 1%, people that are making millions and millions from real estate, they don't work like that. How could they possibly?
Success leaves clues. So yeah, that might be a good recommend. Like, what are other people doing that do have the balance, that do have the structure, that do have a great income, that have the team around them? What might that look like?
You're making millions and millions from real estate. It's depth and thought and space and strategizing with big clients, needing time to do that. You can't be rushed. And so it's setting up the systems that allows you to create that space. So I think that in its raw sense, there's a fundamental shift going from regular success, shall we say, to exponential 1% success. And it's actually a opposite way of working. The regular success is do as much as you can, work as hard as you can. And that's good advice, but it's not complete advice, depending on where you want to go. Because at a certain point, you've got to turn around and say, I won't be doing as much as I can. I'll be doing as little as I can, because it allows me to be more focused and more precise on the things that I can add the most value on and create massive, huge. I can't serve my $100 million clients if I'm serving lots and lots of $500,000 clients.
Damn. Love that. Thank you, Coach. All right, so maybe we should grab some takeaways today. This is a unique topic, I think, that could be valuable for most people that listen, because you can apply this to whatever you're doing. For me, I'll go first. It's catching myself in those moments of that contract. I'm not signing that contract. Not only am I not signing it, I'm ripping it up. And just to identify every time that contract, I think sometimes we lose sight of the awareness of that contract being presented to us. It's almost like a third hand comes across that's not ours and signs it. And then all of a sudden it's in our pocket. It's like, what the heck, what did I sign up for? Oh yeah, that is my handwriting. So it's becoming more aware of signing that document, even if it's subconscious, trying to be more conscious, or the most conscious about every time that those situations come up.
For me, it's just sharpening the saw, just a reminder, because the more that we can focus on that, the more that we can create more and more abundance. If we leave it alone, it will go away. It might feel slow. It may feel like it's not, but it is. And even if it was stationary, the inertia of everything else will take over. And that's just the reminder is the most important thing for me.
Love it. Coach, thank you so much. We will see you on another episode of Truth Seekers.
Hey, listeners, viewers, we have something new. Head on over to YouTube, check out our channel where you have a link to the Achievers Mindset Masterclass. This is for people that are kind of curious, want a little bit more, perhaps not ready to jump into coaching, not quite ready to take that step. But this is a great opportunity. We've got lots of people we can serve. We wanted to create a way of doing that. So go check out the Achievers Mindset Masterclass. Have some fun, enjoy it.